It's about women chose the bear, which I'm sure you all were very down with. But now you have to not be down with it suddenly. This is basically like leftist fucking talk TV.
I'm really schooled on, and I know what I'm talking about, and feminism and trans rights and this feminist trans debate is something I know a lot about.
Oh yeah, we're so right, we're so clever. We know all about this. We're putting this to rights.
You cannot speak for someone else if you're not experiencing it.
You're not trans and I am. Who's the pick me now?
Like, you don't live that experience.
I do live this experience, and I think you're wrong about every single thing that I've heard you say so far. All these people ever want to do is boil it down to, well, what's the issue? What's the issue? There isn't the issue.
I love you, Mary.
Debunking anti-trans activists. This does sound fucking insufferable, to be fair. What are you debunking?
Love podcasts, hate nonsense. Welcome to the Politics Joe podcast.
Oh my God. Apparently every left-leaning podcast has to start in the most irritating way possible. You're like Foundations. I think Foundations is one of the most offensively awful things I've ever heard in my life. I'm sure you've probably heard the odd Lily Allen song. She was fucking everywhere for a while. That era of people singing in really stupid British accents was a dark time, quite frankly.
I'm clapping a bit too soon.
Oh, good. I clapped too soon, or
Oh my God. Gay star news. LGBT news is always the worst fucking thing ever. What if we just have news that completely panders to a certain demographic and refuses to accept reality? Yeah, great idea. When do they debunk anti-trans act? Who are they debunking?
To say what is unethical about your workplace, otherwise it's a dictatorship. And it's like, if you complain and get blacklisted, all you do is prove that I'm right. And I don't rely on anyone for my career. Things that some artists have to rely on.
I mean, she relies on middle-aged men that buy pictures of her ass, I guess.
Someone would sign me at this point. Well, actually, that's not true. Because I have had some very weird meetings in the last couple of years with labels before I signed with Kill Rock Stars, where people are like, if you don't sign with me, you're going to fail. And I'm like, I'm literally not going to sign with you now. What are you talking about? Goes and locks his door, and he's saying the most heinous, crazy things online. Then he's like, coming, honey, for dinner. And you're like, that's what people
is real,
literally do.
Yeah.
And just I find it so shocking that people can do that. But I think that they just don't know how to use these tools. We haven't been educated on how to communicate through our phones. And now we communicate through our phones.
Yeah, people would not want to be educated on how to communicate through their phones. They would see that as I don't know, bro. People want to express themselves how they want to express themselves.
For people, it's making so much more noise than if I just posted something on my stories. I'm really schooled on, and I know what I'm talking about, and feminism and trans rights and this feminist trans debate is something I know a lot about, and is very personal to me.
Well, let's go through some of those. So you've got this. There's one.
So this idea of a trans exclusionary radical feminist, and that being that makes no sense to me, because transphobia is not feminism.
Yes, most of these feminists are not transphobic. That's the problem. If that's your reason as to why you don't understand TERFism, then you're probably just a lost cause and people shouldn't listen to you, but sure.
Dismantling systems of oppression lies at the core of feminism. So trampling on someone else's rights, someone more vulnerable than me, is not feminism.
Yeah, to say it's trampling on someone's rights is massive essentializing, but sure.
And UK feminists, lots of feminists, but I want to talk specifically about the UK because the TERF, the germ, is a very UK-centric thing. We're known worldwide for this. And UK feminists, we have excluded, feminism in general has excluded groups of people from feminism before. And that's been a mistake. And if you look at, I think...
I'm going to get onto fucking Imane Khelif.
The boxing match that happened last year in the Olympics, where
Imane Khelif, is it that one? Yeah.
Became a huge trans feminist debate. It was called Violence Against Women. That is so insensitive and so shocking to me that was taken seriously by the media.
Yeah, when there's evidence this person's like male. Oh my God, man.
When women are actually in situations where they're experiencing real violence, domestic violence, it's a very serious issue. This isn't trivial, right? How could you compare?
Well, the idea of a female athlete boxing against a male athlete without their consent is also not a trivial issue.
Two athletes, Olympian athletes who have trained, this is their job, this is their choice, this is their passion, this is their expertise. You cannot call that violence against women. That is so insensitive and shocking to me that the media would ever even take that seriously, just because it came from the tweet of a famous person who's a millionaire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, based on evidence one of them was male. None of them consented to box against a male, if they're a male. Wow. Kate Nash is not very intelligent, is she? Listen, I don't fucking care about Imane Khelif. I doubt there's ever going to be full-on confirmation that this person is either male or female, because they don't want to do a sex test and that's their right, whatever. But it's fairly obvious as to why some people would have a problem. If that person turns out to be male because they have a DSD that resembles a female but is actually, you know, internal testes, that kind of thing, then I don't know, bro. I don't know. Most people just don't want to see the other side. And listen, I can actually understand the other side in saying that they think that person's female, so it's not a problem. But they can't engage with the side saying they think this person is male. Your girlfriend started listening to Kate Nash nonstop, then left you for a Canadian chick. I'm sorry to hear. Listen, they can't have been the one if they started listening to Kate Nash, because Kate Nash sucks.
Never what is a man. It's all about defining what a woman is.
Yeah, because there's just so many more issues around women's rights than men's rights when it comes to trans people. People don't care about men's spaces because men are less vulnerable than women.
And this boxing match was between two cis women. It actually had nothing to do with trans people.
Were they cis? How do you know?
And one woman looked more masculine, had higher testosterone levels, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they could have been biologically male.
Which is something that happens with bodies, and there's lots of tests that are done on athletes before they have to, you know...
Doesn't understand. Intersex, DSDs, wow, much ally, amazing. Oh yeah, and then...
really know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to sport.
And I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to sport. Okay, then shut the fuck up. How about that? Anything else? This is pretty shit, to be honest.
He was like, my dad just died, and I was really emotional after the match, and I am sorry for what I said because I was in a bad place because my dad died and it meant a lot, and she, you know, and like, that was it. That's the story. And how did it become this huge thing that's like transphobia? It doesn't have anything to do with trans people. And all it did, what I saw, was it was like, oh, it told me you can't be too...
Yeah, I agree. It's got nothing to do with transphobia. Anyone talking about trans people around Imane Khelif, that was retarded. But now you're making it about transphobia.
...woman.
No, you're bang on.
It's that whole thing of the perception of feminism.
Have you noticed all these like journalists and podcasts and stuff? They don't challenge their guests anymore. They just pander to them. This is basically like leftist fucking talk TV, where they bring people on just to agree with them the entire time and suck them off.
Femininity and being a woman, and I do think it's so linked to misogyny.
No,
They're all saying that the only reason people had an issue with Imane Khelif is because they look more masculine. That's not it. You don't understand the arguments. So why are you talking about it? It's so easy to butcher arguments on another fucking platform where no one's going to put you right, and just all butcher it together and come off, oh yeah, we're so right, we're so clever, we know all about this, we're putting this to rights. You don't even understand the fucking problem that people have.
America,
Yeah.
It's like, let's take away like trans people's rights, gay people's rights, women's rights.
What gay rights are they taking away in America, Kate Nash? What gay rights have been taken away in America? Which ones? Which gay rights? Which women's rights? Let me guess, abortion? It's only ever abortion, isn't it? Most of the time when people talk about women's rights in white countries, they just mean abortion.
Yeah.
And start criminalizing people.
Yeah.
And so that's the pattern that's the path that we're on. And yeah, you just there's no argument for this from a gender critical feminist.
What, removing people's rights? How about which rights? Again, you can talk about how there's no arguments on the other side in a room with people that agree with you. That doesn't mean that that's what's going on.
Right. That I've seen that is based on anything that it feels valid.
Yeah.
First of
real,
all,
like it's all this hypothetical threat.
well, there's about
It is this hypothetical threat.
3 stories.
Yeah.
There's about 3 stories from a prison. And since when? Well, I can tell you since when we've set a paradigm for an entire group of people based on about 3 or 4 stories.
Yeah, there's much more than 3 or 4 stories about trans women in women's spaces causing harm, doing terrible things.
You know, we've done that to black people before. We do it to immigrants, and we're doing it to trans people.
Which also,
but the stats don't add up.
No.
feminism did that too.
Yes, the stats like trans women that are incarcerated, something like 60% of them being in there for sex crimes. Yeah, the stats don't add up. Wow. It's all like this. It's all just people sitting around a table to agree about how amazing they are and how woke they are because they're sticking up for trans people. But they don't actually have a clue what they're talking about. And to me, I just feel patronized listening to this kind of shit. Like, you can just get the other side's arguments wrong. And listen, like, GCs do this shit too. And like, fucking rightoids do this shit too all the time. And it's fucking annoying. You can just completely butcher everyone else's arguments and then sit around a table all agreeing how bad the other side is. That ain't doing anything. You're not growing. You're not actually becoming more enlightened. You're not understanding an issue better. You're digging down deeper into your ideological version of what the truth is. And that doesn't work on the left. It doesn't work on the right. It doesn't work anywhere. Oh, this is pretty shit. Yeah, I like the pret-a-manger iced coffee. Gotta get one of those before a hard day's work slagging off feminists for an hour. Amazing.
In order to help women, it doesn't help us.
Yeah, it helps those women, if we're talking about things like spaces, that don't want to share those spaces with men.
That does not help women. To erase trans people, which is what you're trying to do.
No one's trying to erase trans people.
We're not just trying to take away their rights, you're trying to erase them.
They're not trying to take away trans people's rights or erase them. Trans people have their rights. Trans people have extra rights, because not only do they have their sex-based rights, they have additional ones based on gender reassignment. What's been taken away? Your right to identify as whatever you want and then use the spaces of your choosing. Well, that makes all those spaces meaningless. That makes single-sex rights meaningless. That actually also takes away from rights for trans people, because it takes away rights for all of those people in either sex class.
That's not going to happen. Trans people exist. And
no one is saying otherwise.
just because you call them mentally ill online doesn't mean that they are. Like,
I'm mentally ill, but sure.
we can't just have people like saying that this is like, you don't live that experience. Like,
I do live this experience. I think you're wrong about every single thing that I've heard you say so far.
you don't actually know a trans person probably. Like,
I am a trans person.
most people speaking about this aren't trans or don't have trans people in their lives.
I'm trans, and I tend to agree more with the gender criticals. Now what? Now what?
Or even sort of the hyperbolic moral panic
Hyperbolic.
around we can't have trans people in bathrooms because men will dress up as women to use that bathroom.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, allowing them to use those bathrooms legally makes it easier for men to do this. More it's about like comfort. It's about women chose the bear, which I'm sure you all were very down with. But now you have to not be down with it suddenly. Why did women choose the bear? If a woman would rather be alone in the middle of nowhere with a bear than a man, does that mean that woman might potentially feel uncomfortable if alone in a supposed women's space with a man?
well, we go back to it again, don't we?
It's just-
it's once again,
I love
that is a man doing
the
that.
threat. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't need to do that.
Yeah.
They just
If they're
rape and
going to
kill
do
us.
it,
Exactly.
Sorry, but
Yeah,
like,
I know.
They don't need to do that. They'll just rape and kill us. Well, why have they done that then? Why are there cases of people doing this? And if you're going to say that, they'll just do it anyway. They don't need to dress up because they don't care about the law because they're going to try and do something. Let's say you catch a man loitering in a women's toilet, but he hasn't done anything yet, but he wants to do something. But you catch him and you say, hey, you can't be in there. You need to stop using that space. This is not for you. And he says, oh, no, I identify as a woman. And legally, if they identify as a woman, you have to let them use the women's space. Does that not mean that he's now free to go back in there some other time and try his luck again?
No.
I pitched the horror remake of Mrs. Doubtfire, directed by John Waters, because I think that would be iconic. That like this like trans horror story of like men being like putting all this effort in to rape and kill women when like actually you could just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like that's not reality.
Yeah.
Or even dropping the F-bomb. Yeah, really like showing us.
That is not the reality. It's actually not even like, if you look at the statistics of like how most people are experiencing things like sexual assault, a lot of the time it's from someone that you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's overwhelmingly a male on a female. That doesn't mean you shouldn't care about instances of sexual assault that are carried out in these kind of spaces by strangers.
It's
Most of the time, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like, and then
is your partner going to dress up as a woman to come and attack you? Like, no, they'll just
they'll
come
do
in.
it.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah, that's not... Fuck me, dude. These people are so stupid.
need to put all that
They're not
effort
going to
in.
be like,
Put
oh,
the
the
wig down,
Equality
hun.
Act. No, definitely.
Absolutely.
It's just not based in reality.
No.
And I think that like
Okay, there we go. Well, it's not based in reality. There we go. We don't have to think any deeper about this then. Wow.
feminism needs to like, I'm a feminist. Feminism is the most important
Not sure you are, but okay.
ideology in my life, and I am so offended that feminism's being dragged through the dirt. And so I wanted to make this song because I wanted on record in music history a loud cis woman's voice that is
You just sound like a fucking handmaiden when you say that shit, man. Well, I need to be a loud cis woman voice, sticking up for the trans people, sticking up for the men. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Who's the pick me now?
feminist, and like this is not feminism, because it's like currently middle class rich feminists and like 70s second wave feminism, it's not 70s anymore. The point of feminism, the point of being a political person is you accept when you're a political person and you
Yeah, the point of feminism is to uplift females. The clue's in the name.
live by like ideologies. Is that in 20 years you're gonna have to update what you think and the way that you spoke. Like if you're not willing to do that, then get the fuck out of it. Like you don't have the right to.
Oh, she's going so hard now. Like, yeah, I'm like telling people to get the fuck out. Yeah, oh my God, I'm so fucking gangster.
To stake a claim in the 70s and then make that be how things should be forever. That's just
also,
not politics.
Those, that's not set in stone. I think that's what frightens me about some of this feminism. The second wave is not set in stone. If you look at what America are doing at the moment, I mean, they overturned Roe v. Wade a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Again, Elon Musk, he is an advocate.
There we go, slippery slope, overturned Roe v. Wade. Well, the states still get to decide. And it doesn't sound like blue states are gonna fucking get rid of abortion anytime soon. It's not how I'd think it should be. I think there should be at least some availability, if not like, up to 9 months. That's a bit ridiculous.
For reducing the number of weeks at which you can have an abortion.
Nigel Farage said as well last week he wants
24 weeks is too long.
Yeah, the 24 weeks is too long. So you can see.
Again, when we talk about women's rights, the only thing we ever talk about is abortion. It's almost beyond parody. Like other women's rights about things like single-sex space, you don't care about. Wanting to potentially be able to congregate and have an event, for example, that is just for female people. All that kind of stuff. No, all you care about is abortion. Wow.
See how that was, 3 years
Well, I got raped by a man pretending to be a woman in the toilet, but at least I can abort the baby.
ago. I think 3 years ago this month, I believe. I think it was in June in 2022. And 3 years later, you've now got him parroting that same narrative.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know why we don't learn from history this trend that we see, because it was the same with gay men in the 80s being told that because of HIV, they were disgusting and
Yeah, linking it to other causes in history that might just not be the same thing. Maybe this just isn't the same thing. And to say, well, it's exactly the same as this when it's two different groups of people isn't actually a good argument on the face of it. Not unless you can show why it looks like the same thing.
they were like, I can't remember, what was it called? The gay plague, I believe. And it's like this mental illness narrative they're pushing.
Yeah, earlier fucking Kate Nash is all like, oh, it's not the fucking 70s anymore. Well, it's not the fucking AIDS fucking crisis anymore. Do you know why? There was all this like gay plague shit going around. Part of it is because we didn't understand what the fuck it was. Part of it was we didn't understand what HIV is and how it transmits. And once we learned about that, all this kind of gay plague shit died down because we realized we could just put a fucking condom on. And we developed treatments and shit. So what has this got to do with like trans shit? Like if we were in a different era to the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, then we're in a different era. But be consistent with that, right? Be consistent. So sometimes looking back to history is good and sometimes it's bad. Well, how does that work? When is it good to refer to history and make something out to be like something else? And when is it bad to do so? It doesn't make any sense.
To me is very identical to that in a different way, because it's framing the trans community as if they're ill and something is wrong with them.
This is a retarded comparison. If they're framing that we're ill and something wrong with them, well, we literally need fucking medical care for a mental health issue, that being gender dysphoria. That's how you get it on the NHS in the first place. So is it that crazy to think that there's an illness there? That there's something that, I don't know, they might want to keep away from children and shit like that? HIV isn't a death sentence anymore. True. We've come a long way with that shit.
When actually, the biggest things that are wrong with them are the fact they've got to wait 7 years to get a healthcare appointment, that to get gender-affirming care, you've got to get through barrier after barrier after barrier after barrier, and even then, you may not even get what you're asking for.
Get what you're asking for, as if it's just something you say, I want this, and then you get this. Like medical shit. It's something to be taken seriously, yeah? There are waiting times, and that's bad. But also, we probably shouldn't be encouraging this with kids. There's like a balance to this, you know?
Those are the real issues, but no one's talking about it because the voices on Twitter, like you're saying, have hijacked the narrative.
Twitter? How many people even use Twitter? You're going to blame Twitter?
Real issues, but no one's talking about it because the voices on Twitter, like you're saying, have hijacked the narrative to make it so that the real...
Isn't it like what? There's a few million Twitter accounts and like a percentage or so, like 1% or so of those accounts are actually doing any of the fucking posting. Twitter is not as representative of the entire population as people pretend. I mean, lots of people left Twitter because fucking fuckface Elon Musk fucking bought it. And now it's even more of a shithole than it used to be. And that's saying something, because Twitter has always been a shithole.
Threat is this toilet debacle and all of this, when actually...
Well, it's not the real threat. It's not... Oh my God, I hate these people. I fucking hate these people. It's not about there being the issue. It's not about, well, we can only care about this thing. We can only care about the wait times, so we can't care about all the issues around toilets and women's rights and stuff. It's all important. It all matters. The waiting times matter. There should probably be something done about it. It's going to take a long fucking time because the NHS has been on its knees for a long fucking time as it is. Like, wait times are just long as shit as it is, you know? The toilets thing is also important because women just don't like sharing some of their spaces with men, generally. And that just kind of is how it is. But all these people ever want to do is boil it down to, well, what's the issue? What's the issue? There isn't the issue. That does not fucking exist. There are many issues. And the only reason you would boil it down to one issue is so that you can pick the one that you think is important and tell everyone to shut the fuck up about everything else. That doesn't work. That doesn't make any sense. I actually hate when people do this. It's so fucking annoying.
The minute you get on a plane or a train, we're all sharing a toilet anyway. And I get it's maybe not comparable.
No, you're not sharing a toilet because it's like single cubicle. So you never share it.
To like an isolated toilet in a bar, I do get that that's a different scenario. But like we're saying, these issues
There we go. So why even say it?
are not the same, but they're being made to be the same.
No, they're not making them to... Oh my God, I hate this shit, man. What are you talking about? Just run-on sentence that he's talking in.
Yeah, I also think we need to just talk about intolerance because it's excluding trans people from the conversation.
Intolerance is excluding trans people from the conversation.
And it's trying to define what they are, who they are, what's happening. Like,
what are you talking about?
like say this mental health crisis, and it's like when you do stuff like that, you also take away resources from people that are trans that might actually also have mental health issues. And it almost is like, oh, I can't actually...
When you do stuff like what? Oh my... You might exclude a trans woman from a DV shelter and she'll fucking die as a result. That isn't the case. Male people have less options, but like they still have to be provided something. I don't even know what she's talking about. It's just been this general like, well, if you intolerate, then trans people won't get the help they need. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? How do you get to talk on my behalf and say nothing so reliably?
say I have mental health issues now, because then everyone will be like, see, you're mentally ill. And I feel like that is also what happens.
Yeah, everyone's going to be like that. What about when I'm like that? What about when I'm like, yes, I'm mentally ill? What about when I'm fucking begging to get anything fucking done? Because I have something kind of rare and, you know, not diagnosable particularly. It doesn't actually matter that I'm trans. I could be not trans and I'd still have the same fucking problem. And that'd be the thing ruining my life, not being trans.
To women with abortion, like the first time that I knew about some of the really hard stuff that happens with an abortion is when one of my friends had an abortion, and we didn't know any of the stuff that your body could go through. And I feel like there's limited.
I don't have a problem with there being a debate around whether there should be single sex spaces, but there are reasons as to why, and women just feel uncomfortable, and like a lot of it is like cultural as well. It's just been how it's been for a long time. So you get used to it, and then what's different feels strange. But then what's different also feels dangerous because there's all these like discrepancies in like criminality when it comes to like sexual assault and stuff. So it just makes the most sense. The way I think bathrooms should be, yes, it should be male and female. There's going to be the odd person that resembles a female and not a male when they're the other one. It's probably fine for them to use the wrong bathroom, because no one's going to notice. It's when you start getting all these people that don't look like the other sex, but because they've got a gender identity, they are entitled to be in there. It's when you get to that kind of thing, that's when it becomes a problem. But like passing trans people, yeah, that's fine. Like it doesn't actually matter that much. But we're acting like to not allow trans people into the other sex bathroom as a rule is like fucking genocidal or something, and that's just ridiculous. None of us, we don't have data on like how dangerous it is for trans women using the men's bathroom because none of them use the men's bathroom. So we can't actually we can't actually present a case for why it is that trans women can't use the men's. And I think that if we push towards like accepting of gender nonconformity, then that'll help. I think men and women should get used to there are people being in their bathrooms that look more like the other sex even though they're not, because that just is how people are.
Resources on like negative things about abortion because you're trying so hard just to have the right to have one. If you're like, oh, and by the way, it can do this, 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 and this, and this, the right wing will be like, see, that's why you shouldn't have it, and that's why we're right and you're wrong. And it's like, we need to be able to talk about nuances and complexities and also include people that are...
That's a pretty insane thing for this person to say.
Are dealing with those complexities in that conversation, because you just cannot say that you're living someone else's experience.
Doesn't understand the nuance of the human body where a male person might present with internal testes to look like a woman, but wants us to deal with like the nuance and complexities of conversations. Okay, sure. And you also want to look at someone with a different idea of feminism to you and just blanket, that's not feminism. No, we're not in the fucking 70s anymore. By the way, let's compare so-called trans panic to the fucking AIDS crisis. Sure. It's with all these people, and it goes both ways. It's like nuance when I want it, no nuance when I don't.
Like, you just don't have the right to do that. Whoever you are, you cannot speak for someone else if you're not experiencing it.
Excuse me?
Like, you just don't have the right to do that. Whoever you are, you cannot speak for someone else if you're not experiencing it. You can have...
You're not trans and I am. Need I say more? Oh, this is actually painful. I can't subject myself to this brain rot. I'm actually like barely able to speak anymore. That's how irritable this shit is making me. Oh my God. I'm a Spanish person. This girl has been such a great recent discovery thanks to Katie Montgomery. If ever you find yourself saying, thanks to Katie Montgomery, and it's not like sarcasm and it's not like, actually it's thanks to them that something bad happened, then something is wrong and you need to rethink many things. Men don't want trans women using women's toilets because they can't wait to grape them in the men's toilets. No, that is not it. Anyone who sides with JKR needs to be held with suspicion as a potential rapist or abuser. Wow, amazing. Thank you for defending us. Fuck off. I wonder how much these kinds of people get off on trans always being like, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you for being such a good person. It's not being a good person. It's pandering. Those who most defy gender role. That's not trans people. Trans people don't defy gender roles. They transcend sex and conform to gender roles in general. That's why you don't really get many short-haired trans women, for example. There's some very stupid people in these comments, I have to say. Yeah, you ever wonder why I don't really watch all these kind of queeroid leftist like podcasts? It's because they all suck. I don't know of a single one that isn't fucking dreadful.